universal form. And in the last section, matrimony is glorifying the Supreme Lord, the glories of the Supreme Lord. So the seventh chapter in this same third canto, big canto, third canto is one of the biggest cantos. Shukdev Goswami narrating to Parikshit Maharaj, Sri Shuka, Dayashil has joined or not? Dayashil, why your video is off?
I'm trying to join from the laptop, Prabhuji.
Okay. Manoram Prabhu has gone to see his mother to the doctor. Okay. Anyway, let's begin. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Bhuvanam Maitreya Dvaipayan Sutta Buddha Prinayan Iva Bharatya Vidura Pratya Bhashata. Shukdev Goswami said, O king, while Maitreya the great sage was just speaking, Vidura, the learned son of Vaipan Vyas, expressed a request in a pleasing manner by asking this question. What is the question? Iva Bhritya Vidura Satya Bhashata Devam Dvaipanya Sutta Buddha Vinaya Iva. Okay. Vidura Uvacha Brahman Katham Bhagavatas Chinmat Chinmatrasya Vikarina Leelaya Chapi Yujjeran Nirgunasya Gunakriya. Sri Vidur said, O great Brahmana, since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the complete spiritual whole and is unchangeable, how is he connected with the material modes of nature and their activities? If this is his pastime, how do the activities of the unchangeable take place and exhibit qualities without the modes of nature? So this doubt is there in the heart of Vidur, and he is trying to clear his doubt by asking this question. So the learned Maitreya, what it says that Chinmatra Asya Avikarasya. Chinmatra means Chit means the Chit potency is the spiritual potency. So the Supreme Lord is the personification of the completeness of the spiritual potency. And it is avikarina. Vikar means it undergoes transformation or change. This body is vikar. There's always vikar or change happening here. Prakriti also there is vikar. But in Atma there is no vikar, it is nirvikar. Or here it is at avikarina. So because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the complete whole and inchangeable, how is he connected with the material modes? So how he is connected with this material creation? This is the question. As described in the previous chapter, the difference between the super soul or the Supreme Lord and the living entity is that the laters are bewildered by the cosmic manifestation. The Lord creates through his agency of his multifarious energies. So the Lord does not get directly involved. So many times we have explained, it is by his energies. The Lord is therefore the master of the energies, whereas the living entities are subjugated by them. By asking various questions about the Lord's transcendental activities, Vidura is clearing the misconception that when the Lord either descends to the earth in his incarnation or appears himself with all his potencies, he too is subjected to the influence of Maya. just as the ordinary living entity. This is a big misconception that even most of the learned people have. This is what Krishna has clarified in Bhagavad Gita. Today we were discussing. I was sharing the fourth chapter with the brahmacharis. Big theme, almost 50 brahmacharis. And I had 4 hours of session from 1 in the afternoon till 5. And we covered 22 verses. So there Krishna is saying, Ajo api san avyayat. Prakriti swam adhishtaya. Krishna does not accept any element of material creation. But this, those who are not advanced devotees, they cannot understand it. Even devotees cannot understand what to speak of non-devotees. So the non-devotees always think like the Jiva comes into this material world, he has to have a material body. So they equate with the Supreme Lord also. That is why Krishna has to say, Avjananti ma mudha manushintanam ashrita. Param bhavam ajananto. What is the param bhavam? That he does not come in any material body or form. He descends in his spiritual body. But this 99.999% cannot understand. So this is what the Vidura is clearing the misconception that when the Lord either descends to the earth or his incarnation or appears himself with all his potencies, he too is subjected to the influence of Maya, just like an ordinary living entity. So this is such a big blasphemy of the Lord. They try to equate the Supreme Lord to a conditioned soul. This is generally the calculation of less intelligent philosophers, who consider the position of the Lord and that of the living entity to be on the same level. Vidura is hearing the great sage Maitreya refute these arguments. The Lord is described in this verse as Chin Matra or completely spiritual. The personality of Godhead has unlimited potencies to create and manifest many wonderful things, both temporary and permanent. Because this material world is the creation of the external energy. Very important. This material world and all the conditioned soul, they are all the creation of the material energy. It is temporary. It is manifested at certain intervals, maintained for some time, and again dissolved and conserved in its own way. As described in the Bhagavad Gita 8:19, Bhutva Bhutva Paliyate. But the creation of his internal potency, the spiritual world, is not a temporary manifestation like the material world, but it is eternal and full of transcendental knowledge. Opulence, energy, strength, beauties, and glories. Such eternal manifestation of the Lord potencies are therefore called Nirguna. Nir means without, and Guna means the modes. So the Supreme Lord is called as Nirgunatvam. What it means, Nirguna does not mean that no qualities. It means no material qualities or no influence of the material worlds. He is not Nirvishesh, neither he is Nirakar. He is Savishesh and he has the most beautiful Akar. He is Saakar, but he is Nirguna. He has no material modes. He is beyond the material modes, or free from all tinges of the modes of material nature, even up to the mode of material goodness. The spiritual world is transcendental even to the material goodness, and thus is unchangeable. Since the Supreme Lord of such eternal and unchangeable quality is never subjugated by anything like material influence, how can his activities and form be conceived to be under the influence of illusionary Maya? That is why Krishna says, Janma karma cha me divya. Krishna's birth and his activities are divya. And it is very, very difficult and very confidential to understand because it is completely transcendental. So how his activities and form be conceived to be under the influence of the illusionary Maya, as is the case with the living entities. A juggler or magician displays many wonders with his acts and arts. He can become a cow by his magical tricks. You know, all this magicians, so-called magician. This is all what? This is all bluff. And yet he is not that cow. But at the same time, the cow displayed by the magician is not different from him. Similarly, because the material potency is an emanation from the Lord, it is not different from him. But at the same time, that manifestation of potency is not the Supreme Lord. This is simultaneous oneness and difference. It is called Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva. There is a bhed between both the Shaktiman and the Shakti. Because both are one. Shakti is coming from Shaktiman. But they are not one and the same. Shakti is a manifestation of one of the potency of the Shaktiman. They cannot be the same. The Lord's transcendental knowledge and the potency always remains the same. They do not change. Even when displayed in this material world. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, same point of Krishna Prabhupada is saying, the Lord descends to the earth by his own internal potency. It is also called the Swarupa Shakti. So Krishna always remains in his Swarupa. Whenever he comes in whatever form he may come. Any avatar, any position. Because he is coming by his Swarup Shakti, internal potency. And therefore there is no question of his becoming materially contaminated, changed or otherwise affected by the modes of material. The Lord is Saguna, by his own internal potency. But at the same time, he is Nirguna because he is not in touch with the material. The restrictions of the prison house are applicable to prisoners who are condemned by the king's law. But the king is never affected by such implications, although he may visit the prison house out of his goodwill. In the Vishnu Puran, the six opulence of the Lord are stated to be non-different from him. The opulence of transcendental knowledge, jnana, strength, wealth, fame, beauty, and renunciation are all identical with the personality of Godhead. When he personally displays such opulence in the material world, they have no connection with the modes of materialism. The very word chin matratva is the guarantee that the Lord activities are always transcendental, even when displayed in the material sky. Even when displayed in the material world, his activities are as good as the Supreme Personality himself. Otherwise, liberated devotees like Shukdev Goswami would have not been attracted by them. Vidura inquired how the Lord's activity can be in the modes of material nature, as it's sometimes manipulated by the person with poor fund of knowledge. The inebriety of the material qualities The inebriety of the material qualities is due to the difference between the material body and the spirit soul. The conditioned soul activities are displayed through the medium of modes of material nature and are therefore perverted in appearance. However, the Lord's body and the Lord himself are one and the same. And when the Lord's activities are displayed, they are certainly non-different from the Lord in all respects. The conclusion is that the persons who consider the Lord activity material are certainly mistaken. Because it's very much really conclusion. क्रीडायाम् उद्यम अर्भास्य कामाश्चिकीर्तिषा कामाश्चिकीर्तिषा अन्यथा स्वतास्तृप्तस्य च कथा निवृत्तस्य सदन्यथा. Boys are enthusiastic to play with other boys or with various levels because they are encouraged by desire. But there is no possibility of such desire for the Lord because he is self-satisfied and detached from everything at all times. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one without a second. There is no possibility that anything beside him can exist. Ahameva samevadre na anyat sat asad aham paschadam. So there is no possibility of anything beside him can exist. He expands himself by his energies in multi forms and self-expansion and separated expansion as well. Just as fire expands itself by heat and light. Since there is no existence besides the Lord Himself, the Lord association with anything manifest his association with Himself. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.4, the Lord says, Maya tatam nidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matsthani sarvabhutani na chaham teshu avastita. The complete manifestation of the cosmic situation is an expansion of the Lord Himself. In His impersonal feature. All things are situated in Him. Sorry. Yeah. The complete manifestation of the cosmic situation is an expansion of the Lord Himself in His impersonal feature. All things are situated in Him only. Yet He is not in them. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. So the Lord pervades the entire cosmic manifestations in His avyakta murtina, in His impersonal feature. And matsthani sarva bhutani, all the living entities, they all are situated in Him. But na chaham teshu avastita, but He is not in them. That is the opulence of the Lord's attachment and detachment. He is attached to everything, yet He is detached from all. I'll take two more words. Although I'm very tired today. Sleep is also troubling now. Arakshit Bhagavan I Vishwam Gunamayatma Mayaya Taya Samsthapayati Etad Bhuya Prati Abhidhashyati. By his self-sheltered potency of the three modes of material nature, the Lord has caused the creation of his universe. By her, he maintains the creation and conversely dissolves it again and again. So this is all related to creation. Whatever the doubts he has on creation is inquiring. The cosmic universe is created by the Lord for those living entities who are carried by the illusionary thought of becoming one with Him by imitation. The three modes of material nature are for further bewilderment of the conditioned soul. The conditioned living entity, bewildered by illusionary energy, considers himself a part of the material creation due to forgetfulness of his spiritual identity. And thus he becomes entangled in material activities life after life. This material world is not for the purpose of the Lord Himself, but is for the conditioned soul who wants to be controller due to misuse of their God-gifted minute independence. Thus, the conditioned soul are subjected to repeated birth and death. देशता कालता यासो अवस्थता स्वतो अन्यथा अविलुप्ता अवबोधात्मा सहयुज्ये अजय कथा. The pure soul is pure consciousness and is never out of consciousness, either due to circumstances, time, situation, dream, or any other causes. For them, the pure soul is pure consciousness and is never out of consciousness, either due to circumstance, time, situation, dreams, or other cause. Then how does he become engaged in nations? This is the question. When the soul is pure and in the pure level, his consciousness is also pure. So how is it that the pure becomes impure? Either due to circumstance, time, situation, dreams, or other cause. And how does he become engaged in a sense? The consciousness of the living being is always present and never changes under any circumstances, as above mentioned. When a living man moves from one place to another, he is conscious that he has changed his position. He is always present in the past, present, and future like electricity. One can remember incidents from his past and can conjecture about his future also on the basis of past experience. He never forgets his personal identity, even though he is placed in awkward situations, circumstances. How then can the living entity become forgetful of his real identity as pure spirit soul and identify with matter unless influenced by something beyond himself? The conclusion is that the living entity is influenced by the avidya potency. As confirmed in both the Vishnu Puran and the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, the living entity is described in the Bhagavad Gita 7.5 as Paraprati. And in the Vishnu Puran, he is described as Parashakti. He is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord as potency and not as the potent. The potent can exhibit many but the potency cannot equal the potent at any large. One potency may overcome by another potency. But all potencies are under the control of the potent. The Jiva potency or the Kshetragna Shakti of the Lord has the tendency to be overpowered by the external force, potency. Avidya karma samnina, and in this way he is placed in the awkward circumstance of material existence. The living entity cannot be forgetful of his real identity unless influenced by the avidya potency. Because the living entity is prone to be influenced by the avidya potency, he can never equal with the supreme potent. So I'll stop here. I'm having a little short class. So this chapter we see Vidura is asking questions and he is clearing his doubt. If you have any question, please ask. Okay, then I will stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Prabhupada.